Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Black Prosperity Podcast. I'm Danielle Jeter, the Public Information Officer here at Miami-Dade Economic Advocacy Trust. And before we get started, just want to say Happy Black History Month. We are so excited to bring you this episode of the Black Prosperity Podcast. Not only is it Black History Month, but it is also National Entrepreneurship Week. So shout outs to all the CEOs and entrepreneurs out there who's bossing up, doing your thing, starting your business, launching it. We salute you, and we are here for you. If you don't know, MDEAT has plenty of opportunities to help you grow and scale your business. So make sure you stay tuned to this episode and that you get in touch with our office and any of our staff when you are looking to grow your business here in Miami-Dade. So I'm super excited because today I have a guest on the show, Dr. Michael Woodward. And first and foremost, I'm so happy to have him here because Dr. Michael is like who I want to be when I grow up. First of all, he got a PhD. Okay, yes, so shout out to the doctor. He's an author, right? I got some stories that I feel like I want to write too, but he's also an educator. And I actually went to school to be a teacher. But, you know, here today, we're doing some marketing right now. Now we in marketing, but you inspire me. So thank you so much for coming. I'm super excited to meet you. How are you feeling?
Well, you got me blushing in front of your lights, Ms. Jeter. But I feel blessed. Every day above ground, every day I'm able to return home to my children, my family, and my wife. Just really puts a smile on my face. It really does.
It's the little things, you know, that makes life worthwhile. And I'm grateful that you have a heart of gratitude and that you're a family man.
You got to be. You know? I learned the importance of family and having structure at home and the importance of a routine and more importantly, the importance of seeing what it is that we can become in this life. And being raised by the village, you know, led by my father, he never let a day go by without reminding me of how much of it is a blessing to have him part of my life.
So, I know we all grow up, we have goals, we have dreams. Do you feel as if you have like reached a lot of the aspirations and goals you set out for yourself?
I feel like I haven't become half the man that I see at night. I feel as though that there's so much more of the Lord's purpose for me to find out and continue to fulfill, that this work will never end. And while I look back and I find myself in a dark place sometimes, or at a place where I'm feeling inadequate, I can always find hope. And I can always find a sense of reorientation when I see a child reading, whether it's one of my books or not. You know, just the joy of wanting to become better and being a lifelong learner is something that I strive to accomplish each and every day.
I think that's amazing. When I was looking up a lot of who you are, you know, on Google and your website, things like that. At first, I saw young queen, I saw young king, but then when I dig deeper into your website, you have authored so many books.
Yes,
so talk to us about how many books you have authored and what your inspiration is around being a children's author.
Well, there are 32 books in total that are inclusive of classroom curriculums, differentiated instruction to help teaching phonics, to teaching children how to read, stretching from bedtime stories to novellas. And I believe what really keeps me going in this game is understanding that growing up, I had never seen myself on the covers of books. And that sense of trauma was something that haunted me, and it seemed to revisit itself as a third grade teacher in Las Vegas, Nevada. You know, as a teacher, former educator as well, it's hard out there putting books on shelves. And sadly, it's becoming even harder to put books on shelves with this sense of censorship and inaccessibility. That's a totally different story. But to not have the financial means to provide for my 30 third graders really hit me hard.
Wow.
So I built relationships with the library, and I would bring my children, my students, I'm sorry, I say my children, I bring my scholars to the library to find literature that was representative of them as Black and brown students. Sadly, there was only so much LeBron James and Roberto Clemente we can read about, which I love it. I love to read some great nonfiction texts, but where's that sense of reader's theater? How can we establish this sense of belonging on the covers of books beyond being just the dunce or the sidekick or the villain? that wasn't enough for me. You know, I started to see this revolving door of this traumatic experience that I had as a 10-year-old, seeing it in the eyes of my very own 10-year-olds. So I wanted to do something about it. I'm very big into finding solutions instead of finding problems, because those are easy. Problems pop up each and every day. But to find the discipline and the vulnerability to write is something I'll continue to face each and every day.
So are you saying that there are many stories of Black and brown communities and our stories out there, but because of censorship and the way that, like you mentioned, is it our stories aren't getting on the shelves, or break that down? What are you really saying?
Well, DeSantis, spring of 2023, I believe he House Bill 35, one of those, which restricts the accessibility of many of the books that are authored by LGBTQ that talk about the Black and brown experience. Censorship is running wild and rampant. The American Library Association is actually counting this past year, 2021, 2022 were the highest recorded levels of censorship. Sadly, with such laws in place, many elementary schools had to forfeit their books, send them to middle schools. Middle schools had to send them to high schools, and many high schools had to send their books to the public library. Well, this sense of censorship was alive and present, and is what I focused my dissertation on. And it was such a humbling experience to meet and to talk to so many county-led public librarians and school-led librarians, and to see this sense of dissonance when it comes to diversity and when it comes to enriching experiences that so many students and young children go without. I believe the right to read is something that should be afforded to any and every child. However, we have found ourselves at a place where parents of children who aren't even parenting children are making the decisions to release the accessibility or what may have you for our children at hand. And it's heartbreaking. It's very divisive.
So what have you found, or in your opinion, how do we as Black and brown communities combat this? Is it more so now on the family and the parent, or do we need to go back and fight policy?
Well, I think creating equity and policy is something that we should always strive to do. We should always be in these rooms where decisions are being made, or knocking on the door, or gathering the troops and rallying one another. However, I think the biggest thing that we can do is to lean into these banned books. The American Library Association has their National Banned Books Week. You know, for many of our public libraries in Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach, there are book stations that focus on banned books. I think the biggest thing that we can continue to do is spread the joy and the love of reading, and at the same time champion diverse experiences that may not always replicate our very own experience. And with that in mind, I believe we can continue to champion what it is that's out there and what should be accessible to all children.
Wow, thank you for bringing up such enlightening points and really giving us some thought, some things to think about. So you have a lot of your books here today. Talk to us about some of the books that you have.
Well, you know, I hate to talk about one in front of the other without talking about the other.
Hey, come on. What you got? Let us know.
I think what really stands out to me is King Monte. It was my very first. King Monte, this is the third out of the set of 3. It's really hard to keep up with all of the books and to keep them in stock, which is a beautiful problem to have.
So people buying them?
People buying them. Honestly, I think I give away many more than I should. There's nothing more heartbreaking to me than to hype up the joy of literature in a classroom or at a Saturday event, and that child not being able to afford a book. Nothing breaks my heart more than going into many low-income communities with more books than table provided, and that child wants more than one book than their parent can afford. So with that, I decided to evolve a little bit and figure out how can we create this inspiration in a way where it's free of charge, you know, and how can we animate and create cartoons and get people who may not be interested in reading to be interested into storytelling.
Yeah.
Into hearing how we all are going through so many different problems, but when we zoom out, it's all this sense of discipline and struggle that we seem to have in common. So how do we get beyond that? So to just kind of bring it back home, King Monte was one of my first. Remember, as a third grade teacher, at that grade level is where children make the transition from picture books to chapter books.
Yes.
And for so many, if children do not make that transition, they are that much more likely to drop out of school by the grade of 10, by 10th grade. So we want to make sure that we're not so much as handicapping children, but we're putting children in a place where they can feel, how do you say, they feel invigorated, this form of self-efficacy. We build that confidence into children, I believe, through reading. And if that child cannot read or does not have the desire to read, it is up to us as educators, as parents, as champions of literature and academia to be able to find things that would best support a child. The last thing I'd ever do is push a book on a child, but what I would do is push their interests on them. Well, how I used to get away with this is I had this one student, he was a handful, but he loved polar bears. He loved them. So every time I was in the library, or every time I was able to find something that was grounded in polar bears, that was around our classroom content, I had him hooked. And for so many children, it's not that they can't read, it's that they do not want to read. So that's where I try my best to step in classrooms all over this country and all over the state to create this sense of excitement through any of the 32 books that I have to offer.
It reminds me of my experience in elementary school. So I'm originally from Philadelphia, and we had the 100 book challenge, and it was, I don't know, maybe it was a semester or a year-long program, but the challenge was you had a reading log and you would take it home, but the goal is to get the student to read 100 books, to meet that challenge. Who can meet that challenge? Who can exceed that challenge? And so we had the opportunity to pick the books in our classroom. We had to go home and read. Our parents had to sign the log, and we would bring it back in. And I'm grateful for that challenge. I'm a person who loves to read. I read every day. Still to this day, I got up this morning and I read for 15 minutes before I got dressed. And I'm grateful to even my mother, who, when she wanted to teach me something, even till now in my older age, when she wants to teach me something, she buys me a book about it. And so, like you mentioned, being able to tap into the interest of the child, or just trying to introduce them to the love of reading, because that is something that is going to be a lifelong thing for them, right?
It's a foundational skill.
It's a foundational skill. Whenever we want to evolve in life, elevate in life, learn something, let's pick up a book about it. And so I'm grateful for people like that in my life, my parents, my educators, people like you who inspired the reader inside of me. And, so what you're doing, I say all that to say what you're doing means so much. And as your students continue to grow, they'll take that with them.
Absolutely.
They will continue to read. They'll get up and find books and things of that sort. And so I'm grateful for anytime I'm gifted a book. I love it. I have a huge library of books. And I think, again, what you're doing is incredible, and I commend you.
I really appreciate that, Ms. Jeter. There's a lot of competition out there. We got streaming services. We've got great music.
YouTube.
We've got great movies. We got YouTube. That's just going to. We got. I buy my children games only for them to turn on YouTube and watch somebody else playing the game. And I'm like, whoa, are you gonna play the game? My God?
Yeah.
So it is competition for our attention, and for so many, we're becoming ingrained to wanting it microwaved. We want it fast.
Yeah.
I want to be hooked in 6 seconds. This first paragraph better be good, or I'm not getting through this chapter. And there's so many times where I feel we must learn to teach children and adults to take things slow. To take your time in life. And for so many children, they may feel a sense of inadequacy if they have to read the same thing twice, or if they had to read the same paragraph twice. Well, I'm the first to tell a child, I didn't understand that. I've never seen this word before. Let's decode it and let's sound it out.
Right.
And let's use context clues to figure it out. Even in my graduate school work, there were times I had to read the articles 10 times just to be able to keep up in conversation. And for many children, I think where they find their greatest growth is when they see people like us struggle, when they see us overcome, when they see us stop, say a quick prayer, reevaluate, find a sense of reflection.
Yeah.
And for so many children, it's not that they won't do that. They just were never taught to do that. And I'm a firm believer in I can show you better than I can tell you. And when children see these things and they see this sense of belief in your very own self, it's contagious. It's infectious. And children learn how to believe in themselves in return.
Absolutely. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk to the entrepreneurs who are listening today. So you're an author, but you're also an entrepreneur, right? Because you have products.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have these products for sale.
And they cost. and
it costs to run a business, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So what challenges do you face as a Black entrepreneur in the publishing world, and how did you overcome them?
That's a beautiful question. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Right.
Each and every day, it's a very humbling experience. I don't want us to be fooled in regards to this uphill battle that entrepreneurs are facing, independent authors who are looking to be taken care of by that big publishing house. It's a very lonely journey. It's a very it's an uphill battle, to send these query letters out and to get people to believe in what it is that you believe in is something that does not come easy, and it shouldn't. It shouldn't, because I believe that shows the true value and the worth. But, a horse can only be kicked in his butt so many times before he gives up. So I think what really helps me find my greatest success is the unwillingness to accept the word no. And it's hard because writing a book is a very slow process.
Talk to us about it.
I can come up with the words in a night or so and let them cool off and come back to them the next day. But it's a very patient process. Let's say you want to put your eggs in the basket of getting a great publishing house to adapt or to take in your inspiration. Well, you got to make sure that query letter is on point. And you got to be patient. You have to be able to allow your inspiration to sit on the table for some time in hopes that someone will reply giving you that news. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be a lot more, I think I'll pass over, hey, let's try to work something out. And to read an email when you wake up at 5, 6, 7 in the morning and your day has started off with a rejection is something that will hold you back. Yeah. And it was something that will put you at a place where you begin to second guess and doubt your inspiration. And these are things that I tell myself in this uphill battle, in this journey, that we must never allow someone to discredit our inspiration. We must never allow someone to tell us what a child truly wants and truly needs. Because I write off experience. I write our stories based off of our stories here in South Florida, being the only honors kid, being a little different than everyone, being encouraged to take medicine in 2nd and 3rd grade, being by myself, and finding refuge in the football coach or the PE coach or the janitor in the school, because these are the people that resemble who we are, sadly. And when I go to different institutions, from elementary all the way on up to higher ed, I find myself being the only one sometimes talking directly to students who look just like you and I. And that is something that keeps me up at night. That is something that pushes me far beyond every no, every I'll pass, every sense of it's okay. Because I know in my heart, and it is something that I encourage every entrepreneur, every budding author, everyone with a story to tell, that you must never allow someone to make you keep that story on the inside, because they will. They will try it. Many people that you may share, like, hey, check this out, they may not see the vision you have because it's blurry to them. Well, I see things in 2020 in my mind, and I may need help. I will always need help. We must never be, and I learned this from my mother, we must never be too proud to ask for help. But in the same breath, we must never rely on the affirmations of others to continue to develop our own inspiration.
I don't know about y'all, but Dr. Michael is giving me MLK vibes. He's giving me the
I'm sorry.
on the mountaintop.
Sometimes I go a little. I can't fake
great.
it.
I think it's great.
I cannot fake this.
I think it's great. Yes, you're very creative. You're very passionate, and that's what you need, to make it. Like you said, it's a tough industry, and in entrepreneurship, we have to have thick skin. No matter what industry that you are a part of, when it comes to entrepreneurship, you're going to be met with a lot of no's. And I remember being in high school, my mom telling me, I don't know where you're going, Danielle, but I feel like where you're going to have thick skin, because you're going to be met up with a lot of no's.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't wear your emotions on your sleeve. You're going to have to be able to get back up and brush it off. And so I'm grateful for those lessons that she taught me, because she was like, build a bridge and get over it, which for her telling me, hey, just because you face adversity, just because you hear that no, just because you got knocked down, don't mean that you need to stop. You need to get back up and keep moving, because you don't need every yes.
No, you don't.
Just need that yes that will then open up
You'll need one.
the world of opportunity, the opportunity that you need, right? And so it's just, you brought me back, and I'm grateful for it. I studied African American studies in school. Like I told you, I wanted to be an educator as well, but God said otherwise. We did other things, so that's amazing. So talk to us about like how you see your work as an author and educator addressing the representation gaps in literature for children.
Well, Dr. Radine Bishop teaches us that books should be mirrors. We should be able to see ourselves. Books should be windows. We should be able to see the lives of other people, the experiences of other cultures. But books should also be sliding glass doors. Books should be able to be a world we can step in and find our place in someone else's life, or at least find a sense of connection. And these are the things that are withheld through censorship. So when I think of what it is that I hope to continue to accomplish through my writing, is that children will continue to step beyond these barriers that society has placed in front of them to become the best reader, the best thinker, the best scholar that they can become. Because I love themes. I love thematic elements. Remember, I'm really into, I'd rather show you than tell you.
Yeah.
So I want children to see some of my characters being bullied. I want fatherless children to see and understand that it is not their fault. And there are people that are surrounded by us in our everyday movements, in our everyday operations, that can fill these voids present. However, it is not up to the child to find these things. It is up to us as the village to find the children who are in search of our inspiration. Well,
yeah,
I like to leave my inspiration on nightstands and coffee tables, at barber shops and living rooms. Nothing brings me greater joy than going into one of my friends' house and just seeing my book just around, because I know the book isn't for them. It's for any child that may be in their vicinity. So when I meet children who like to share with me how they simply just want to be heard, or they want to write, it's nothing short of a privilege than to tell a child, well, write it down. Well, what have you written? Well, what do you see in your mind? When you close your eyes, what sense of beauty comes about? So when I think of the extension of my inspiration being put forth into the universe, I know not where many of my books have been to more countries than I have met people that I may never, ever know. But I pray at night that no matter which of these books you pick up, you find something in common, you find something useful, and you do something with it. And you do something with yourself, your heart, and all of your sinew.
I love that. Talk to us about who inspires you. Are there particular authors that you look up to?
Oh, yeah. More so theorists. I think Dr. Gloria Ladson-Billings, Dr. Tyrone Howard, excuse me. These people, they speak life into our culture, and they teach us the importance of culturally relevant teaching. They teach us the importance of bringing in the experiences of all children within our pedagogical approach to education. Yeah. I think I'll always look up to my father and be thankful, because I want to say it was 2010 statistics taught us that 43% of America grew up in fatherless homes. And growing up in Alapata, in Miami, Florida, I realized that what my father was saying in this reminder, he may have been playing around, but I know how serious he was. He used to say, how many of your friends have a father in your life, in their lives? When you go over their homes, do you see any males present? Do you see anyone pushing and pouring into children how I pour into you? And as a child, I just kind of blew it off. Like, man, chill out, man. Come on, man. But as an adult, as a man at Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, I've met so many people who can't change a tire, can't hold a conversation, holds the umbrella for themselves and not who they're with. Chivalry is not dead.
Not dead.
It is not. I'm not sitting here saying hold the door for all 20 people that's trying to cross the street, but at the same time, understand that there's a greater being than that of yourself.
Yes.
And for so many people, they're constantly having to be reminded that we must first give before we receive. And these are the thematic elements. These are the things that I may not clearly write in the book, but you can see it by the positions I put my characters in, by the change of the color, the change of the feel. I had a book with there's only one color, sepia. There's a book where it's not as vibrant as everything else, because I want you to focus solely on the experience of my main character in hopes that it inspires you to become great as well.
So you said 30 books.
32.
32 books. Young King,
Young
Queen are two of the recent books that have been published and that are available, that are out there. How can we get these books? How can people order and be of support of your business?
Well, I need it first and foremost. Thank you so much for the alley, because I cannot do this alone, and these books don't buy themselves. So many ways. I think the most authentic way, a way that you can own my literature and get a little bit of me within my writing and within me making a personal message to whoever the book is to, is to simply go to my website, michaelwoodwardjr.com. Thankfully, I've found I've cracked the code as a self-published author to figure out how to get my books in bookstores, in Target, and Walmart, all over this country and all over the world.
That's amazing.
It is nothing short of a blessing. Simply by Googling my name or a number one of these books, there's pages upon pages of people who believe.
Do you sell on Amazon, or do you do? Okay.
Yes, books are located on Amazon to get to you in 2 days. However, I love to put my love inside of a book. I've never owned a book that was signed by an author until I became an author.
So you want people to go to the website so that you can write a message to them, autograph that book.
Oh, yes.
Yes, that makes sense.
When you check out who's this book to, I'll say I'll pull something out of the sky to reaffirm their sense of well-being in this earth. And that is the joy of going to different schools, of going to different vending events, no matter how hot, no matter how cold, no matter how rainy or windy, no matter if it's paid or volunteered.
What about snow? You showing up in
the
this?
snow. We haven't gotten there yet in life. But
y'all gotta bring them up north, okay?
No. I've been to them Philly streets. No, it gets cold. It gets cold, but I think my greatest belief is reaffirming to a child just how important they are to the world and how this sense of royalty runs through their veins. It's very easy to find the common themes within my books, especially those that are grounded in Africa and our royalty and our history.
Yes.
And I feel like it's being eradicated much quicker than we think it is. So it is up to us to continue to develop and find things representative of our culture that the media may withhold from us.
Wow, Dr. Michael, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Jeter.
Thank you for joining us on the Black Prosperity Podcast. This has been an amazing conversation. We definitely have to bring you back for part 2 as we continue on with our guests. So thank you for, spending time with us. Let everybody know how they can follow you on your Instagram and your different social media accounts.
Absolutely. Please find me. I'm up all night cutting and editing those reels. So please check out those reels of me with children at my Instagram, author M. Woodward Jr. My website, www.michaelwoodwardjr.com, and I'm super easy to find.
Awesome. Well, happy Black History Month, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. It is National Entrepreneurship Week, so make sure you go out there and you support a business in your community. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Thank you.